Hi, Jackie Senatore. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
With
Wow,
a
you
with a
said
bit
it
of
even
an
Italian.
with a bit of Italian. I'm in Europe, so I should really reflect the fact that I'm talking to you from the UK. But thank
Yes.
you for making the time to jump on a chat with me. I really appreciate you making the time. It's a Saturday, so I definitely it's nice to kind of extend our week to make this happen. And we're coming off the back of International Women's Day, so it's only
Perfect.
appropriate that I feel like it'd be great to have a chat with a powerful, engaging woman on International
Thank
Women's Day.
you.
But how are you doing? How are you?
I am great. Yes, it's Saturday. One of the things is when you're inspired by what you do, you show up on Saturdays because it's fun. It's so great. So I'm so looking forward to being here with you and chatting with you. I loved our last connection, so let's do it.
Yeah, that was fantastic, and yeah, that really inspired me. From we were talking with Amos on ENTV, and
Yeah.
as part of the Catapult program that I'm involved in, definitely wanted to have you talk to the group, the managers who lead, and to give us a bit of your backstory in terms of what you do, and we'll see how this kind of ties in, because people may wonder, well, what does what she does, is that tied in with what we do in this space? And I think there's a definite connection there.
Yes. If you're a human being and you experience emotions, this work is for you.
Yeah.
So I help people get in touch with themselves energetically. So shift their mindsets and perspectives and perceptions, but also to really become aware and conscious that we're energetic beings. And we go through life and we experience challenges to help us grow. Now, what happens in life, sometimes we get a new challenge that we get stuck in and we don't know how to get unstuck or get the growth in it, get the message. Why is it here? And so a lot of the times we can go one way or the other. We can go, life's happening to me and there's nothing I can do about it, and all these bad things happen and we suffer. Or we can start to open up and ask a different question of, this is happening. I'm going to understand that it's happening for me. I don't know yet. I'm still in pain from it, but at least I'm going to leave the door open to show me more. What do you want me to see? Because everything in your life is helping direct you, guide you, shift you, especially leaders. If we're here talking about business and leaders, leaders that I work with often ask one question: how can I excel? How can I go to the next level? Well, if you want to go to the next level, it's going to require a different version of yourself. Therefore, life's going to show up right as you ask that question and be like, great, you want to lead? I'm going to give you this challenge and this challenge and this challenge so I can shape you for what you're called to be. And that's where I come in and help navigate those rough waters of growth.
Yeah, and that's a this is why I invited you. It really does speak to that element of understanding where you're at, and understanding where you need to go or where you want to go, and then creating that being that is ready to take on that next level of growth. So that's definitely powerful. And then so you mentioned that this is something that leaders and managers can definitely lean into in terms of understanding what's going on. What does that journey look like? Give us an example of what that journey would look like, moving
So
from
it's,
A to B.
yes, and A to B is not so easy sometimes.
Yes,
And
true.
it is for other times. It just depends on what area of our life. Sometimes it's a small growth and a small tweak, and we get there really fast. Sometimes it's a complete life transformation of the way we used to be to the way we're being called to be. So there's no timeline sometimes. I wish there was. I'm a very type A person myself, and I'm like, just tell me what I need to do. I'll get it done by 5 o'clock. And sometimes growth takes a year. Sometimes growth takes a shifting of just different things and a repetition of it. But I think the first thing, depending on when someone comes to me and how into personal development they already are, if they're brand new and they're like, what is energy? What does that even mean? It might be a little bit different, their journey. And the first thing I would offer them is just to have the awareness that your body is made up of energy. And the way that we're thinking comes based on our energy. I love to describe it as almost like a tree trunk. And then a tree has branches, and those branches have leaves. Now, the trunk is your energetic system. And the thoughts that we think and the way that we see the world is the branches and the leaves. So when we shift our energy and we shift the trunk, all of a sudden we start to see people different. We start to see opportunities different. We start to have different thoughts. So when someone's like, what's the point of clearing your energy? That sounds woo-woo. It's literally driving your entire life in the way that you see things. So just even having that awareness allows you to start, okay, I can entertain that if I want to. What does that mean? The next time you get challenged or stuck, just put your attention on your body. Where do you feel it? What emotion do you feel? Are you angry? Are you scared? Is it? And then give that, once you locate it, because some people will find it really fast. You're like, when I stuck, my throat feels really tight, or I feel like my body's getting hot or sweaty or something. The next step is no judging it. And that's the hardest part, is take the judgment off of where you're at so it can change. So when we get stuck, myself included, when we get stuck, it's making it wrong or bad. I shouldn't be this. I shouldn't care what people think. But you do. So let's start with where I'm at isn't wrong because it's where I'm at. And that is probably 80% of it, of just giving yourself that permission to be like, I'm upset, I'm angry, I'm whatever it is, and it's okay. And as soon as we start to allow that, it's like doors start to open of, it's okay. You can still be a leader and have anxiety. You can still be a leader and have relationship challenges, health challenges. People often think that they have to be perfect to be a leader. I myself teach hundreds into the thousands of people. People are very often shocked that I'm not perfect. If anything, I think leaders get challenged the most because we evolve through it and then we can teach it. If my life was perfect, I would be a very boring leader and teacher because nobody would relate to me and I wouldn't know what it felt like to struggle with a health challenge, to struggle with finances, to struggle with vulnerability and being seen and messing up publicly. Those are all part of our... So I hope that answers your question. I think the start is where you're at isn't wrong.
Yeah.
Accept it, and then get clear what you said. What do you want? What is it? Where do you want to go? And that will start, life will start to direct you down the river of getting there.
That's perfect. And that question, what do you want, is so loaded in today's world. And like you said, yes, a lot of our issues can stem from us judging behavior or judging energy or emotion in terms of making it bad or good or bad. And then that then sets up that spiral of saying, well, I should, I ought to, rather than just sitting with it being what it is. So that's powerful. It does free up a lot of space there. So that, I want you to talk more on just, we could see where the analogy of the tree and the branches in terms of the energetic trunk informing what the branches and leaves see and manifest. In terms of some of your work, I've actually went to your site, by the way.
Cool.
I went, yes, and speak a little bit about the you've got an energy teaser. I forgot what it's
energy
called
shifter.
now. Energy shifter.
Someone's like, what does that even mean? Yeah.
Right,
I said, well, whatever energy state you're in, I use it myself sometimes, which is pretty funny to listen to my own voice. But whatever state that we're in, so we go back to what we want. We are where we are, and we usually want something. Whether that's authentic or not, we find out when we clear our energy space. Because sometimes we don't even know that other people's energy and beliefs are in our space. And we picked it up when we were 12 that dad or mom or somebody said, hey, you should be this. And then we go on this journey of wanting to be that, but it's actually not authentic. That's why it's not happening. So the energy shifter is come as you are. We're not judging how we are. How we are is perfect. And then I'm going to show you or walk you through a 15-minute experience of what it means to clear other people out of your space, to just send all their energy back. And then same thing for us. We put our energy in other people's spaces. So especially if we're a parent, we're like, we know best for our kid. Or as soon as you think about someone or even talk about them, part of your energy goes into their space. So why we're tired or we're less resourced is because our energy is scattered. So I walk people through that energy shifter of calling their energy back, getting back into their body. We create our life based on how much energy we have. And so when I saw that the people that I worked with that were the most successful had the highest level of energy. And when their energy dropped low, they began to have more depressive thoughts, more scattered thinking. They would say, I'm procrastinating. You're not procrastinating. You're just not in your own energy field. We all know what we want. It's just, do we clear the blocks that are preventing us from seeing what we want? Move mom out of our space of, it's okay to want what you want. Bless moms. I'm a mom myself. But a lot of the times our goal, our role is to guide these children. And sometimes we put our own, thing on what we want them to be. So that's the energy shifter I walk people through. So if you're ever anxious, stuck, frustrated, or you just want to shift in your energy state, then you can kind of go through that and see and experience it. You have to be open to it. Some people listen to it, they're like, what am I doing? Just try it and see how your life starts changing.
Yeah. And I was a little bit on that fence in terms of, okay, let me go for this. And I guess part of it is that, like you said, some people have to have a sort of a mindset that is more a growth mindset. If people have heard other speakers on this group, we've talked about sort of the growth versus fixed mindset. And if you're in that space where you have a bit more of a growth mindset, then this is not out of bounds to explore. And certainly, I would encourage anyone listening or watching this to think about it in terms of a curiosity and exploration. But I want to find out a bit more.
Yeah.
Some of this stuff is definitely it's not something you learn straight out of high school or you.
Nope.
So
Lucky me.
What informed your journey in terms of where you are right now and your business and focus?
Gosh,
Where
so
did that
many
come
things.
from?
Yeah, so many things, and it's interesting to look back overall in our life and see how things are lining up perfectly. But at the time, I wanted to be an actress. I wanted to be in films. I went to film school. I was on movie sets and television shows and commercial sets, and I was experiencing anxiety. And when I would go to these sets, especially in Los Angeles, I started getting anxiety or anxiety attacks or just anxious feeling. And I couldn't understand it. And I knew I just didn't want to medicate it. I wanted to know why. Why was this happening? It was a blue, sunny sky day. What? I'm not afraid of anything. Why is my body freaking out? And so my mom actually introduced me to something called EFT, which is emotional freedom technique. And this speaks to what you just said. If someone's listening to this, there's a reason. There's a reason you're being invited into something. So my mom was like this tapping thing. And at the first thing, I'm like, tapping, I'm going to tap on my face and this is going to help anxiety. But the reason we go into alternative and we find these things is because the way we're currently doing things isn't working. So when we've had enough of that, then we're going to be like, okay, Jackie, I'm going to give you 20 minutes. I'm going to entertain that. Let's see if it works before I can check it off and say that's woo-woo. I don't want to do it. So I started to do it and I started to love it. And not only did I like it on myself, then I started being a practitioner and helping other people. And when I watched trauma heal and some really amazing things, like someone couldn't touch their toes, we did this tapping thing on them and realized they were upset over a breakup. Then we healed that breakup. And in that room in live time, they touched their toes for the first time in 5 years. And so when I kept seeing things like that, I'm like, there's something so much bigger. And so over a decade of me learning different modalities and working with people at a really high level and people all around the world. So I saw it didn't matter where you were from in the world, you were an energetic being. We all have the same fears. We all have the same wants. Our culture and our way of thinking might be different, but it all comes down to the same thing. And my anxiety was showing me that I was energetically sensitive and I wasn't aware of it. So when I had anxiety flying, I didn't realize I'm picking up everybody's stuff on the plane. I'm feeling things going on that set. So if someone had, not the best intentions around me, my body started to get anxiety. And I wasn't aware of it, or I didn't even know that other people's energy affected us. Now I learned how to energetically separate and move other people's energy out of my space, and anxiety shut off like a light switch. My body just wanted me to get the message, hey, there's something here in your space and I want you to know. So now anxiety is sort of like my friend at times, my superpower of, when I start to get anxiety, stop, Jackie, pay attention. Your body, there's something it wants you to know. And so I just kept going, and now I worked with people, and I love achieving, and I love business, and I loved all that. So when I started to work with people wanting to achieve abundance, there's a block. What's the block? Let's get super curious on what makes that person successful and where you're stuck. Well, you have a fear of caring what people think. You have a fear of people making fun of you, of being seen, of criticizing you. And one of my favorite teachers, Dr. John T. Martini, used to say, if you're not being criticized, you're not doing much in life. You're not making a difference. If you're scared of being attacked, you're not going to be a leader. And that really hits, right? We all want to be loved. We don't want to be attacked. And in my career, in my business, when I started working with people and going to a higher level, I welcomed it. People who said I was woo-woo, that's okay. Because there's people I was changing their lives. And I wanted to have both. And when you can be okay with criticism and praise, you go up in your leadership. We don't know, me and you sitting here, we don't know one leader that's not annihilated in public. And you got to do it anyway. I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to make a difference. And that, I think, is one of the biggest things that I work with people when they're ready to get to their next level, is finding, and we each have something unique to us, finding that fear that's bigger than our desire for success. And then once we overcome that, it's fun. It's step into this. People are going to hate you. That's all right. Some people are going to love you. What do you feel about yourself? If we like it, me and you like it so much, we're on a Saturday, we're living purposefully. To me, that's exciting. And not everybody, it doesn't have to be everybody's cup of tea. And that's I think the wisdom.
Yeah, that's powerful. There's a couple of things. I enjoy letting you speak. So there's a couple of things that come back, and I'm really leaning into what you're saying, and I'm thinking, there's something that you said I've really got to think about coming back to. And it's a couple of things. One is that, we're here to make a difference. And sometimes people think that it has to be a monumental difference to the world. So, and that's the grand idea. It's a grand scheme to have. I know personally that I have to think about the world and my world. They're very different spaces, and I can probably make more of an impact in my world than the world. So I'm just saying that out loud to sort of say, when people think it's a grandiose idea, too big for them to take on, you can chunk it down to your world and make a difference there, and that will actually impact the world.
The biggest difference we have is ourselves. You, me, this conversation, even from when we met in the other conversation, everywhere we've been and shifted to impacts everywhere we go. Well, you can meet someone in a grocery store and smile at them because your soul is lit up and they get to experience that. You are changing the world. We're just, I don't think, so aware of it. And I think the more we keep showing up that way, the more we're going to build our leadership, and it ripples out.
Yeah. And also, as you were kind of telling your story from sort of being exposed to the EFT, emotional
freedom technique, yes.
Emotional freedom technique, to the journey back then with anxiety and then coming through that. Some people may hear that and go, it's one of the hero journey. We started here, we were down and destitute, and now we're flying on top of the mountain and everything's hunky dory. No stories. Maybe you can speak to. It wasn't that straight a line between.
No, I often joke with my community and my people. I have a very strong statement. I have gift that keeps on giving in my life. I am divorced and co-parent, and anyone that relates to that knows that it comes with its challenges. I am far from without challenges. Challenges make me grow, and the challenges I go through, somebody on my call that I will coach, I'm like, that's why I went through that challenge, because I'm meant to help you. When you want to grow, you're going to get challenges. So all of us, so yes, I had a hero's journey through that, but somewhere in 2016, I wanted to get to the next level, similar to what we talked about. I'm like, all right, I'm ready to like impact even more people. Life offered me, through me, pretty much a life-threatening illness I had to overcome. I went through a 4-year divorce. I went through bankruptcy. So I went through health, relationship, and wealth challenge that annihilated me for 4 years, but built me up stronger than it's almost like I was brand new. And then what came out of that is now I get to serve at a higher level platform for people. And someone's thinking, wow, you had so many tools and skill sets. And I did, thankfully. I probably wouldn't have made it through that if I didn't. But I was built really strong in personal development. And life put me through a tsunami of disaster. And I made it through it, and I can see the gift in it. Although it was hard, I think anybody, when they're ready for their next level, goes through something that changes them from their current version to the next version. Sometimes I wish it was easier. Like, can we just put it on a Post-it note and tell me what I got to learn for my next version? You don't need to destroy my life. But what I've come to learn is that in every crisis, there's a blessing. With every challenge, there's hidden opportunity. And so it makes going forward challenges not easier, because they're still painful, and life is about both sides. You know, I have bliss in my life and I have pain in my life, and I have both. But I think it gives me a grander view of things, of like, okay, this sucks right now, but just like history has shown me, I'm going to evolve through it. I'm going to become stronger. I'm going to gain something from it. We're ready to go to our next level.
Yeah.
So it makes challenges easier in hindsight, maybe not going through them, but that's part of the human experience, I think.
Yeah. Absolutely. And there was something else that I wanted to pick up on in terms of the energy shifter. The energy shifter. It was interesting that you explained how our energy can be transported or given away to other people. By thinking about them, our energy shifts to that person, and also we take on other people's energies. And it's funny. It sounds woo woo, and then Stephen, I forgot his last name, Stephen Barker, the Diary of a CEO, the guy does a big podcast. Yeah, he had a guest on there talking about whether stress was contagious, and this doctor came on talking about how we release cortisol in our through our sweat. And that sounded kind of strange as well. But the idea of something being a contagion, an emotion being a contagion, I think we all palpably see that in stress in workplaces, for example. Yep. We know when we walk into a room that there's something not quite right. People are feeling something, and not necessarily saying anything, but they're feeling something, and we pick up on that.
What are you picking up on? Yes, that's so perfect. Yep. How do you know that person's angry? They're not telling you they're angry. Yeah. How do you know it?
Yeah, and for those in leadership and or management positions where you're looking after a team, like you said, being aware of your own energy, and then being receptive of others' energy in a non-judgmental way, it puts you in the best possible state to actually understand what's going on. I think that's really powerful.
I once did a retreat for a technology company, so opposite of woo-woo. And I kept it light, and we can. The best way to describe it as somebody who's new at it that doesn't understand it is when you think of someone and they call. When, you call someone and they're like, I was just thinking of you. Yeah. that's a good example of someone being like, okay, there's something going on. I don't know what it is. Or when you turn around and it's like you feel someone looking at you. What is that? It's they're looking at you and their energy's going in your space. You feel it and you turn around. And that's, I think, an easier one to describe. But as far as leadership and managers, a lot of people think everybody else is their problem. Their emotions are their problem. And when they take on too much, they start to get burnt out. We want to give leaders or people who manage people permission that if Johnny over there is experiencing anger, it's not personal. Let him work through whatever it is he needs to work through. You stay centered and on your mission. God, you're going to have so much more energy as a manager of being like, it's okay if Susie is mad at me. I see the grander vision for my company and my role. That's why I'm in this role. She's okay. She'll get through it. That's her growth. That's not my job. My job is to steer this ship. And if you're going to be a great leader and a great manager, you're going to piss people off. You're going to upset people. And depending on who you are, I always think the higher the leader, it's really funny. Sometimes I have my partner is really strong in leadership and complete opposite of woo-woo. So he it's not that he doesn't care about people's feelings. He just has a shorter span. That's okay. They'll get over it. And that's what I think makes a great leader. And as we look at some of our world leaders, funny and not funny, you will see they don't care what people think sometimes. They're not even aware of people's emotions. And people can say, oh, they're narcissistic or they're a bad person. They're not compassionate. They can't be. Because if they cared about everybody's feelings, we wouldn't have Tesla. No, I'm just joking. we wouldn't have things that we have because they don't have the capacity to care about your opinion. They're on a mission. And bless them for being able to do that. I mean, I'm compassionate. I don't know if I could step into that part of just like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to piss off 1,000 people and totally fine. There are people that lead our world in innovation that have to be that way. Celebrities, they have to. Imagine if they cared about all the comments and opinions. Nobody would make any art because they'd be so scared of people attacking them. You just got to get to a place of it doesn't penetrate you anymore. And I think that's when there's an explosion of success.
And like you said, holding that space, it's the not caring. The not caring is as much about not giving it good or bad status.
Yes.
You can acknowledge something going on, but if you don't give it, if you keep it sort of amoral, where it's neither good nor bad, it just is, you're in a much better position to handle it, whether it's criticism or praise, like you said.
Yep.
And that's important. And I've had a couple of guests that and I've said this as well, and I believe it strongly in terms of the term holding space, and I guess that's from that sort of woo-woo side of things.
Let's do it. And what is holding space? Yes, I love it.
but I like the idea. I had a podcast about containers. In terms of it's important to have discussions and conversations within containers because it gives you a structure and a formula, if you like, in terms of understanding what you want to communicate, and you don't step outside that container, for example. So I mentioned that because it's similar to holding space. It is understanding that Johnny is ticked, or Johnny is angry, and holding space for Johnny to be angry in a container. It doesn't spill out into being mean to other people, and it doesn't enter my space in terms of really impacting my energy. I let Johnny be Johnny in that space, so it's important for that sort of mindset, I think.
And it helps you grow. Another flavor of what we just talked about is it's not that Johnny, who cares, he's irrelevant. It's just that you give him that space and you don't take it personal and not judging him for being angry. Then you both get to grow. Okay, Johnny, what is it that you really want to say? and giving him that room, and then getting to self-reflect that it's not personal. It's helping you maybe see something different. So it's not caring about people around you or your employees. It's not taking it personal or making it wrong.
Yeah.
And then the things that do get in, getting to look at it that way, you and your employees can become even stronger, because now it's not, let's just pretend nothing's wrong, or the elephant in the room that nobody talks about because everyone wants to keep peace. It's creating something that's real. I'm okay with you being mad at me. Please share. And then we get to self-reflect, and we both get to grow, and everybody feels heard and seen. I have a team of people, and there's nobody that works for me that isn't equal important of, even if it's someone doing graphic design, the energy you're putting into my product, you're important, you're valuable. And allowing people to be themselves, people start doing their best work, because now I don't just have to be Johnny, the perfect employee. I can be upset. I can be this, and I have permission to be. People really feel valued. So I think it connects people even more to have that solid team.
I just had I don't know if it's an epiphany, but I just, as you were talking about energy, I thought, I substituting the word work for energy, or even substituting the word effort for energy.
Yes.
Gives it a different perspective. A solopreneur, and I'm a coach in my space doing my stuff, and people often say to me, "Oh, you're still working, and I'm like, well, it's not necessarily for me. It's not work. It's where I put my energy. It's where I focus and channel my energy on a task, and
Yes.
I don't necessarily see it as work in the traditional wake up, check in, clock in and clock out type mentality.
You're inspired.
And so I thank you for that.
Yes.
It's definitely powerful. But I'm gonna. We're 30 minutes in. I just want to. This is probably about around the size. This is great. There's so many things that I think we covered, and you've been a very gracious guest. And I think there's some really good things that you've kind of shared with us. How can people get hold of you, especially that energy shifter? I'll have the link actually, but what's the best place to reach you?
Did you go through it?
I did. I went through, and the interesting thing was the questions for the journal. It was very interesting because without giving the game away, it's a two-parter.
Okay.
You get yourself into the right space, if you like, the head space, heart space.
Yeah.
And then you come out of that, and then you write. You've asked some specific questions that we're suggested to write about. And what came up for me was very interesting, because I didn't think that was a blocker or not a stumbling block, but something that was a blocker for me. A growth opportunity. Thank you. A growth opportunity, and. It was, and I wrote it down, and I was okay with writing it down. Part of me was, as I was doing the steps, I thought, I shouldn't be saying that. I should be saying this. Yeah. And then I sort of had to check myself and go, no, it's okay to write down what it is, because I'm not going to judge it. I'm just going to do the steps.
That's the goal.
So that was very meta for me, sort of thinking about what I was thinking.
That's good. Yes.
And then I came back and did the longer session, which was just freeing. It was just nice to be in that space and trusting and being curious. And I think for anyone listening to this that is thinking, well, we've said woo-woo a few times here, and people are going, yeah, but it really is an opportunity to be curious. I think if you just come from a place of being open-minded and curious, you'll find the gems. You'll find the gems in the exercise.
You have to be ready to try something new, and not everybody is, because life isn't at the end yet. It's not painful enough. When it's painful enough and you've had enough and nothing's working, you're ready to try something. Whatever, give me the woo-woo. Let me see. Check the box at least. I always tell people, if you're watching this, there's a reason. Just check the box. It didn't work for me. have that open-mindedness, but you have to be ready. That's the thing I think with this is you were ready to write that down because you came to a crossroad of, do I want to write this down? Because I don't have to, and I can stay exactly as I am. Or I can just go for it because that's the gold. When you really want to get the pit of a stuckness, that's the gold. It's not going to be pretty. It's going to be a part of yourself. You're going to be like, ew, I didn't see that. That's the reason the change happens. If we had the answer right now and everything that we were aware of, we wouldn't be stuck. We're stuck because there's something we're not seeing. And that's usually some fun, junky stuff that we're judging about ourselves. But permission to be a human being, that's all it is. Just all of us suffer. It is what it is. We're all in this boat together. Might as well love it because it's what it is. So can't be wrong.
That's perfect. I'm going to use that. Permission to be human is the title.
Yes, you said when people say you work, it's how are you being? How are you being today? We always like to ask, what are you doing? Because that's our culture. How are you being today? That's the shift of what you're enjoying being. Work to you is being. I'm being in this conversation. So you shifted somewhere from work mindset of uninspired to being mindset. And now someone can ask you, what are you inspired by today? And you probably list them 40 things. How are you making a difference? Here's my 40 things. When someone says, how are you working? You've connected that with like uninspired. Like, no, I don't want to work. I'm contributing now. It's different. It's energy.
Very cool.
You're an energy man. You don't even know yet.
There you go. Well, for all those listening, for all the energy men and women listening to this, I hope you got some value. It's always a pleasure. I enjoyed the first time I was co-presenting, talking to you, Jackie, and thank you for this one-on-one time. Just to share. I'm very excited. So please, I'll have links in the comments, and Jackie's part of the group, so you can reach out to her. Just mention her in the comments there, and reach out to her. Definitely check out the Energy Shifter if you're curious. It's definitely worth the time and the effort and the energy that you put into it. So I'm grateful for that. But Jackie, thank you so much for being on the call today. And have you got plans for today? What are you doing for the rest of the day?
We are driving downstate with our little doodle in the car. We start our RV life somewhere in the spring here, so we're gonna go get all that set up. We really like to be in nature a lot when we're not working. Right. So we're gonna go enjoy that today. But for everyone that tries it, because this is a different little bit of community, send me your tough questions. You can ask me the tough questions of like, that doesn't make sense, or I don't mind the energy of it because I can help shift it and shape it, and so I welcome it. That's great. That's great. Yeah. And I definitely see a little plug here. I definitely see a sort of a round table discussion around this theme coming up. So maybe we'll have some speakers and some guests coming together and just really having a bit of a deep dive in terms of this space. So definitely get your questions in. Yeah. And post to us all. I've worked with plenty of business leaders, and they don't tell even their spouse that they work with me because of what it is, but they will call and be like, I'm not closing this deal, and I'll help them shift their energy. And then they call me 20 minutes later. They're like, I closed it. I wasn't seeing it that way. And it's just as small. So it's totally for people who aren't woo-woo.
There you go. That's great. All right, Jackie, thank you very much. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your RV in today. And we'll talk again soon.
Yes. All right. Bye, everyone.